and welcome to Batshit, because we are batshit about The Bachelor. I'm Kristin.
And I'm Reid. And I guess we're going ahead and getting going. You may notice that there's no cocktail with us today, and that's because, well, really it's because I was unprepared, but you know what I'm actually going to say is the tea wasn't that hot, so we were just parched for anything. So if we're going to be parched, so will you guys. So I mean, no liquid here.
The women tell all left us parched of tea, and therefore left our cocktail hour parched of alcohol. This is the women tell all. It's their fault.
Yeah, it evaporated away. Yeah, so Kristin and I actually watched this one together, unlike usually where we watch it separately. So we kind of already have like a take on what we're going to say, but hopefully we can keep it fresh nevertheless. Yeah, so, I mean, how do you feel about it out of the gate?
So I feel like I really liked that they had less contestants on than normal. I feel like normally they bring back everybody, including like night oner's. And
we don't want to see
you're
the
kind of
night
like,
oner's.
who is this person? Why are they here? They're advertising their clothing line, their makeup line, their, perfume line, whatever. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't care. Number one, I like that. In my opinion, I knew almost every single person there except for Starr. And even when Starr was on the show, I didn't really know who she was. I always had to look her up whenever they showed her. I was like, who is that girl? So she wasn't a night oneer, but she was, in my opinion, like the person that was talking a lot that people didn't remember.
Yeah, she definitely got the most screen time out of people that are like left pretty quickly.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that being said, though, she was the one who, if you think about the women tell all, usually there's like 5 girls like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, enough, right? So the fact that there was only one, I took as a huge pro. And she didn't even talk that much. And it wasn't like she was like advertising something or doing a plug. She was just like, I was like, okay, we get it. And always when I see the women tell all, I'm expecting some girl to like be yippity dog, right?
Yeah.
And, but again, there was one, which was a huge pro.
And it was pretty short.
Yeah.
With that. And mainly the people who were like actually the main players were talking.
Yeah. So that was great. Everybody else, I knew who they were. And I was like, oh, Evelyn, awesome to see her back. Like, I was a fan of her.
Edwina. Like
Edwina.
She was spitting some fire.
Edwina was looking hot.
Yeah, she did look good.
I mean, she was looking good. She had stuff to say, but it was like legitimate stuff to say. It wasn't just like...
It she wasn't on the show, honestly. She didn't, like, when she said something, it was like, it makes sense.
Mad respect. So I also feel like all of the girls, what they said was usually relevant. And what I mean by that is like the girls that weren't main character energy. We're talking about Sydney. We're talking about Maria. We're talking about that, right? They kind of said some stuff that I think was irrelevant. But that being said, the girls that like kind of got kicked off prior to that, so like Evelyn, Edwina, all those people, they, I feel like, chimed in with topics that were relevant versus just like kind of nonsense, which I also really appreciated. I also appreciated that it was like an hour long. And then they kind of went into an episode. I don't want to say they went into an episode for the last hour because that's not necessarily true. They probably played...
It was like 20 minutes.
20 minutes of that. But it was cool to see the episode, and then it was cool to see the interview with Joey and Rachel. And it was cool that, the women tell all was very condensed.
Yeah.
I felt like. So overall, compared to other women tell all, this was a great one, in my opinion.
You're forgetting like the major elephant in the room.
The Golden Bachelor.
That's funny. I didn't think about it. Yeah, we definitely didn't forget that they were there. They really want us to know. They're plugging that. And obviously that show was like very popular.
I know, and neither of us watched it.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We'll catch up next time.
Yeah.
I've been told that I'm going to get in trouble if I say it wrong. I think it's Gary.
Oh, I think you're right.
Gary was like a nice guy. So for a second I was thinking it was Jerry, and I was like, I'm gonna get in big trouble from my parents if I say it wrong. But no, the elephant room this started at 8 p.m. rather than 7.
Oh boy.
And I was not a fan. I was really not a fan of that because I don't remember what they've replaced it.
Some opera.
Yeah, but
something.
And they kind of did it like at last second, so a bunch of people just like I guess didn't really realize it because you're just like, oh, I got it on the DVR, but it says it's at 8, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just sit here for an hour.
Yeah, so our time zone, it went 8 to 10, which was a little rough, and I feel like we were about to call it at 9, and then when they started playing the episode, it was like, oh, all right,
well, it finally got good.
Finish this.
They showed something, so
that was good. Yeah, but the opera kind of messed it up. So, and we did not watch the opera, so we aren't even aware if it was worth it or not.
Yeah, so that was a major negative for the show.
Agreed.
Just because of that. So, yeah, I'm still a little upset about that. But, yeah, I guess if we kind of go to the beginning, we start with the Maria. This is all the Maria show. And, just from the vibes of the crowd. Obviously, I was like big winner here because I was Team Maria since night 1. And everybody else was because one of the fans had a sign that says, "We came for Joey, stayed for Maria." And I'm just like...
Ooh, okay. I saw some of the signs, but I must have missed that one.
Yeah, and I was just, and Maria was pretty much herself, and I think all the other girls knew that she was right, so they were all pretty diplomatic and kind of just let it go and just like, yeah, we don't need to deal with this anymore.
Yeah, and I know on this show we've been a fan of Maria. You specifically, I was a little late to the game, but we've been a fan of Maria for a while. But it's interesting because I've talked to other groups of people who have like not been a fan of Maria. So to me, it was interesting to see on the Women Tell All that it seemed like a common theme that a lot of people were a fan of her. And again, here we go. Short skirt, boobs out, butt out. I mean, I feel like at the beginning of the season, it was like full boobs out. Then she kind of like got more conservative and was covering up. And then Women Tell All, it was all out there yet again.
Well, she was kind of going for it. I saw, typical Maria. I saw her like waving a little bit when they were coming in and whatnot. And, but I did appreciate when they were showing her, journey or whatever, and they show her walking in with the thing that she slipped into that's more comfortable. She cringed and like looked away, and I'm just like, okay, she understands what was going on here, at least. Like, she was like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, a lot of them cringed when certain things happened.
Like with themselves. What did you think of the crowd kind of being a fan of her? Did you see that coming? Or
no, I didn't.
That surprising?
I mean, I feel like they tried really hard to make her the villain. And it just like, and it definitely, the drama did always center around her. It just did. And normally you would think that person's the villain, but the season was kind of different because it just wasn't like that. Yeah. And what I think is interesting is in previous Women Tell All episodes, they interview people that are like, I'm still hurt. I still have feelings for Joey, right? Or they interview people that are like, I'm living my best life, right? Yeah.
And what I've noticed is usually the girls that are like, yeah, I wish Joey the best. I'm living my best life. I'm good. Usually leads to a conversation of them being the Bachelorette. And I feel like because they kind of don't want to be like, oh, boo-hoo-hoo, I'm not over Joey. Because if you're going to be the Bachelorette and you say that, it's like not a good look, And in another podcast I listened to, they said like, is it possible that she would be the Bachelorette? Is it possible that she's being considered? And I want to hear your take on that. And if she was considered, what your thoughts would be.
Well, I think we all know it's going to be Daisy Days.
Right? Oh, Daisy Days. I mean, I hope, Lord above, I hope it's Daisy Days. I want it to be Daisy Days. Yeah. It was just a little curveball to say like, Maria, how would I even feel? A whole season of Maria seems like a lot.
It might be a lot. I mean, she's locked in for sure on Paradise.
I would love to watch her in Paradise.
Actually, a lot of those people are on there. Like, let's not pretend that Allie and Lauren are not going to be on there at the exact same time.
Love that. Love Kelsey T. Would love to see Kelsey T.
Yeah, Kelsey T. I feel like she kind of got sent home before her time. I feel like she deserved to go another week or two, but oh well, I guess not. Joey wasn't feeling it, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it could be a handful of people at this point. I would be fine with it being not Lexi. I don't know why I always mix them up. Jen.
Okay.
I'd be totally fine with it being Jen. She seems like fun.
Okay.
And I don't think that, I think it could be Jen. Maria might be a lot for a whole season, even though I'm a pretty big fan of her. And I feel like Daisy, I just like, with, even though Kelsey, you know, she's number 2 or number 1 or number 2, right? I kind of just like don't see it with her, I guess, for some reason. I don't really have anything to like back that up. I just kind of don't feel it.
I think that Daisy, of course, we've been talking about her being Bachelorette since
For like a
day
while
one,
now,
right?
yeah.
So I mean, I would love to see that. If Daisy wins, controversial, I would of course watch it because I love The Bachelor, but I think an entire season of Kelsey A would be very slow and would be hard to get into.
Why do you think that?
Because I think that she's very just like, hee, here we are, hug, you know, next scene, hee, here we are, hug. It's just, I just want to feel more of a connection with her.
Yeah.
And I think I've struggled since the beginning. It's interesting because I feel like even she came out of the limo and I was like, oh, that girl's in the top. And I could just
you
tell
called that, and I
because of
was
like
a hater.
the way they interacted. And here she is in the talk. Like, I can see the connection between them. That being said, I think I struggle to connect with her. And I don't know if that's just me. And she does have a sob story. And I've, you know, when they were showing her hometown date and her dad and the conversation with her and her dad, I was like crying and getting really into it. So I do feel a type of connection to her, but like, I don't know why I feel like it's, I don't know if it's enough. I mean, it would be hard to watch a season. That being said, I think watching an entire season of Maria would be difficult because I think it would almost be like too much energy, too much drama, too much going on.
Yeah, too much boobs out.
Too much boobs for me, too much butt. That being said, Paradise would be like the perfect combo. Yeah. But can you imagine if her boobs are out the way they are now in Paradise?
Well,
she'd have a black box on her at all times.
I don't know when the black box comes out because I feel like a lot of the things they've shown on this season like qualified for that, but I guess not because I've seen 0 black boxes on this season. So
yeah, I know, maybe it's just to add some tea.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of funny, so
That's
maybe
true.
that's why they do it. And I feel like when you go into Bachelor in Paradise, they just throw everything out the window. Like, we're just gonna like do it for the memes.
Well, and Bachelor in Paradise is just fun and funny, and Maria is just fun and funny, and I want to see her in an atmosphere where she can just be really free.
Well, let's not pretend that's gonna happen. We know that they're gonna jam on Jess there because it seems like Maria was able to make up with everybody except Jess.
Yeah.
By the end of that,
and they were kind of fine when Jess left originally.
Yeah,
they were kind of already cooling off. So you know.
Yeah, Leia was like, she kind of had a little tiff at the beginning with Maria, and then Maria. And she was very diplomatic, Maria, even though she was obviously the winner. She went over there and was like, oh, I'm going to give you a hug. I'm sorry that you had to go through all that and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, I don't condone all the bullying that happened with Sydney and stuff. And, you know, watching that it's been a while since I've watched The Bachelor. I was just like, wow, this like fan group is so angry. Because like as I've been watching other reality TV, either A, they're not talking about it, or B, it's just not happening. And because I was like kind of shocked when Rachel's just like, yeah, I've had all these like, you know, racist comments and stuff. I'm just like, why are people doing this?
Or
like,
just TikToks of like people making like gagging noises, I think she said, or something like when they're kissing, or just like, I know that broke my heart. And yeah, it was hard to go through. And I'm sure Sydney and Leia have gotten a lot of hate. That being said, do you think that the amount of hate that they have received is valid? I mean, obviously it's never valid, right? Because like I'm sure that there's things that we aren't even aware of that are said that are like completely out of line. But do you think that Sydney and Leia should have been villainized to the extent that they were? From at least the Women Tell All perspective, if that makes sense.
I don't know. It's like, I just like, when they were showing the bloopers and stuff, it just got me thinking like, there is so much, like imagine the amount of content that they are sifting through versus how much we get shown. Because like just through those, it's like they are sitting there for hours at a time, just doing nothing. And so like, what is actually going on? Nobody knows. And like, I feel like there's so much more context than you ever get to see. And I guess I just don't see why people have to be like so angry and rude about this. Cause like, you know, it's one thing just like, you know, I don't really like that. And like, you know, I was very offended when Lauren threw the cake on the ground, but but like, I don't know, like, why are you going to DM these people that you don't know?
Yeah,
that are like obviously not going to actually talk to you.
Right.
Because they're going to get like a million of the other ones. I just like, I don't know. I just don't see the purpose in being a hater like that. Just like, yeah, you can just be like, I don't really like that and I'm not a fan of it, but like, whatever. I mean, like it doesn't affect me.
Right. Medina on the Women Tell All, love, because she just came in and was like, you know, like, can we just agree to disagree? Right. It doesn't have to be I'm right, you're right. You know, it's not like a Maria versus Sydney situation, and it shouldn't be an audience versus, you know, Sydney situation or whatever. I feel like she was just like, you know, like, can we just agree to disagree and move on? You guys are different people. That's okay. You know, and that's life.
I think eventually they got there and that was the end of it.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. So, no, I thought that was great. Yeah. And it did make me sad that Leia kind of had a meltdown during the show and had to be like stepped out for a second, you know, during a commercial break. I mean, she was really going through it seemed. And,
yeah, she was taking a lot of heat. Because then at that point, she definitely made a problem out of nothing. Like nothing had happened at all. And I'm like, I feel like the whole, you know, Maria and Sydney thing was pretty much based off of nothing. But at least something was said, right? In this case, it's like literally nothing happened. And you're just like, why are you being nice to her? I don't know. Like, why wouldn't
right. Like, this is the choice that I'm making. Yeah.
Yeah, like, who cares? Yeah, so she took a lot of heat for that, I think. Especially, it probably becomes overwhelming when you have the whole crowd. And did you guys know that the Golden Bachelorettes were there? Do you know that?
What?
Do you know
they
that?
Were? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! And they haven't been on any of the episodes, and I almost forgot about them.
Yeah, I almost forgot about them. It's not like they were on the episode last week, or like 2 or 3 of the other ones. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew, because they were mic'd. Like they were in the crowd, and you could hear them perfectly. They were mic'd. They knew they were going to talk to them.
Yep. Yeah, I know. We need to get on that Golden Bachelor train.
Yeah, but I'm still waiting for the Golden Bachelor cruise. Like,
right? Heck yeah.
That's definitely the best idea we've come up with so far. I don't even remember what we were talking about. I saw the Gold Bachelorette.
Because it wasn't the Bachelor in Paradise. It was like a version of Golden Bachelor in Paradise. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, the Golden Cruise. Yeah.
Well, I saw the Golden Bachelorette opportunity to throw in that joke, so I just had to do it.
There we go.
Yeah. So honestly, like looking at that whole thing, and the reason why I hate this episode so much is just because like I don't really feel like any new ground or, you know, or any sort of closure is provided to any of these people. I feel like what is said before is pretty much exactly what's said now. They're like, oh, we'll put Rachel in the chair with Joey, and Joey's just like, yeah, I'm sorry that happened. I just wasn't there, and I wish you the best. And she's like, okay. And that was pretty much it. So
yeah, right. And then they sit down with Lexi, and it's like, you know, how do you feel about your decision? Oh, I still agree with the decision. I did what was best for me.
And it's like, okay,
you know,
good for you.
Okay.
Good for you.
You know, like, and I mean, it's cool to hear the impact that Kelsey T and Lexi had on like the public by sharing their story. Yeah. You know, so there is, you know, value there. But at the same time, I agree in the sense of like a storyline standpoint, we're kind of staying stagnant.
Well, also, I feel like that could just be, I don't know, condensed in a different, like, because like they said it and it's like, you know, that's great. Happy that happened. But, you know, in the grand scheme of that 2 hours, that was 20 seconds.
Right.
And, you know, and then Lexi had, you know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes total. And it's like, great. I'm happy that happened that way. But then we just have to drag through talking about things that we've already heard. And I like kind of am shocked that for the most part they actually like dealt with the problem like normal people and just like handled it and moved on.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Because normally they don't do that.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they're just like, Maria hugged it out with them, and that was it. It wasn't just like, oh, I still hate you, because a lot of times they end up that way.
True. Is there anyone that you wished you would have seen a one-on-one interview with that they did not interview, or vice versa? Is there someone where you think they did do a one-on-one interview that wasn't necessary?
I think they showed the people that are important. I mean, you got Rachel, you got Maria, you've got Lexi, you had Jen. I mean, those were the... Actually, they didn't do Kelsey T. That's the only person I think they kind of missed. And like in the ranking, because like I kind of looked at the chairs and I commented this to you. Like Maria was obviously in the number 1 spot, but she was also number 4, so she got to be in the number 1 spot. But Kelsey T was like kind of far away, even though she was number 6 or 5 or 6, I guess. I mean, she got sent home at the same time as Jen, so you can't really say if she was 5 or 6, but she was kind of far away. She was probably the only person I think kind of got missed out on, but I don't know. She just kind of handled it normally and moved on, so maybe that's why they skipped her.
Yeah, and we still kind of she got a couple questions thrown her way, you know, and Jess got a couple questions thrown her way, but not like a full interview. So, yeah. Okay.
So we can put that to bed now because that was at least by far the least interesting part of the episode. But They did a little sneak peek in there, and that they showed some of the actual episode. The storyline was going forward, which made this easily the best Women Tell All because it was the least women, the least of that episode. It was more of just like, okay, let's actually see what's going on here. So we pick up with Joey freaking out because he saw we need to talk. And so then eventually, Kelsey comes in and he's just like, so what's this about? And she's just like, oh, I am... it's just hard sitting for several days thinking about how things are going. And I just wanted to say that, I really miss you. Ha ha ha.
Right.
And the look on his face, he was like, that was it.
I know. He looked like really not upset, but just kind of like, are you serious? I've been panicking about this. Like the panic didn't go away.
No.
It wasn't like he heard that and felt relieved. Like, oh, thank God. It was like, this kind of ruined my night. Like, I'm upset about it.
I should have checked the timestamps on like the security cameras to see how long was he there for, waiting for her to come in.
Well, what he said to her verbally, I think if I remember correctly, is like, I've been worried about this for like 15 minutes, which...
Oh, that's not that long.
I mean, to me, I think is a little dramatic because I'm over here like, she's been worried about this for days. She's been sitting in her hotel room, pacing back and forth, no phone, no nothing, right?
Yeah.
Just thinking about you spending time with other women, like in her own head. And then you've been panicking about it for 15 minutes when you just got back from a date, possibly. Like...
Ooh, that's interesting. This is the first time Joey's kind of made a mistake. I didn't think about that.
Okay.
Yeah, because like he's not really... Because she accidentally... I mean, she stepped on the landmine just like Maria, but in this case, it only blew off her leg rather than her whole like body. Because she was just like, oh, I just miss you, haha. Rather than Maria being like, I'm going to dump you because I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Because I straight up, like, and I was telling you this... Like I kept on saying, I'm like, is she gonna get dumped for this? Like I straight up thought that was gonna happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And and even now we're kind of going back a little bit, but then when Rachel got sent home, it was interesting because we're like, who's gonna be sent home, right? In the rose ceremony, like, is it gonna be Kelsey? Did she kind of screw everything up by writing that note? Like how much damage did this note do? And we don't even really know still.
It did a decent amount because he's just like, there was a bunch of highs and then he's like, there was lows. And I'm thinking like, what lows, dog? Like I didn't see anything. And, but then he specified to being like, oh, my insecurity that I'm going to be here alone. And it's just like, ooh, so it's all on Kelsey. And she probably knew right there that like, that like I might just be getting dumped like right now. And I think that moment probably was like, we didn't see an interview or anything, but that moment was probably just like a pure if you had like a heart rate thing to her, you probably just saw it spike crazy.
She's like, I know he's talking about me. And the other girls were like, what's going on?
Yeah, they didn't know because everything was fine as far as I can tell.
Right.
But I told Kristen, like, I was gonna be so shocked if Rachel got that, because just like how he was talking to her was not at all the same like the other two. And so if Kelsey got dumped for that, I was like, Kristen, I'm probably gonna have to buy you a new couch here. So I was just gonna like crap my pants if she got it, because I was like, there's no way.
I know, yeah.
It's like he just isn't as interested in her. So
I mean, do you think there's a world where, I mean, of course there could be a world where Daisy wins, but now, I mean, do you think that Daisy's going to win because of the whole Kelsey note situation?
I mean, I still feel like he likes Kelsey the most out of them. Just like, that's just my guess. I think he likes her the most out of the two that are left. But I'm still like trying to put together, what is this like big thing that's never happened before, right? Because, you know, they're throwing us a curveball here, as we had seen we need to talk like way beforehand earlier, and it ended up being like pretty much nothing. So,
well, the other thing that I wanted to touch on is it seemed like their conversation was very short. Obviously, with editing, it's hard to tell, but it seemed like she came over, said, yeah, you know, I miss you, hee hee. They talked for a short period of time. He's still upset. He says, at least to the camera, that he's still kind of like thrown off guard by it. She leaves to go back to her room. I guess we don't know when the rose ceremony is. Maybe it's the next day. But, you know, he's lingering with that emotion. But the whole thing was just like she came over and said, hey, I've been thinking about you, and leave. So it's like there was really nothing tangible from the conversation.
he was pissed.
Yeah.
I think. I think if she just, as normally that move, I think would have worked out really well for her. But I think just specifically because Joey's so afraid of this that it blew up in her face. But he was mad. Like, I don't think he liked that at all. And I still am like kind of afraid he's just going to send himself home.
Oh, do you think that happens? He just completely like is like, I'm done. I'm not choosing anybody.
I just think maybe I think he will pick somebody, but I just think like he might have been holding back so hard because he's so afraid that he ends up sending himself home.
Wow, that would be a huge plot twist. Holy cow.
But I don't know. I'm like looking at it at this point, like, is this just going to be like kind of nothing? Like, is it just going to be like he says something specific to the person he's dumping and they say something else? And then it, because like they oftentimes get emotional when they dump the person who's first. And then you see the second person, you're like, oh, that's great. And you know, whatever. But so it could just be that. And I'm just like trying to figure out, I mean, like, what do you think's going to happen?
Do you think that he picks someone and then he sees the other person and then he's like, wait, I just made a huge mistake.
Pulling an Ari.
And like chases after the other person, but does it in the moment instead of like after the final rose.
Oh, and they tell him to take a hike. Maybe this time.
That would be kind of crazy.
I think what Ari did probably makes more sense than like right after the fact.
Yeah, because you have time like to process the information.
Because then you're like kind of just making a flippant decision at that point. Like you immediately know you made the wrong choice. I don't know. I just like, I cannot see what's going to happen that would be so shockingly different than normal. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. It's like, it doesn't seem that much different than any other season at this point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Who do you think his parents are going to get along with better? Or how do you think the date with the parents are going to go?
I'm sure they'll both go well. And it's like, oh, they're two lovely women. But don't forget, you have to pick one. You have to pick one, Joey. And just follow your heart. And they'll say a bunch of useless stuff. Or stuff that's not helpful. And I think, I don't know. I could really go either way. Because I think I'm just going to go gut decision that they don't like Kelsey more. Because I think that she's more into him than Daisy is.
And I think she shows it physically more so than Daisy in a setting around other people.
Yeah, Daisy's a little bit more held back.
And I think she's held back like emotionally and physically. So it could be like, is Daisy into him? But she is. She's just not like
She's just not like that.
Touchy-feely person, it seems, which is fine.
Well, I don't know
Well,
about that.
I guess but like in front of other people, which I guess there's camera people everywhere, but like,
Yeah.
I can imagine a setting in front of his family where Daisy would feel uncomfortable being handsy.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Well,
Like, this
absolutely.
is the first time you met these people, and just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel you're like trying to validate why you're there, and like hope they like you and stuff. Like, I feel like it's pretty natural to feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely. But I can see Kelsey overcoming that and saying, yeah, I'm going to touch him because I want to touch him and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, she's the world's greatest kisser.
Oh,
Right?
I thought that was Lexi.
That was Lexi. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah. Okay. So you think them meeting the parents, pretty typical, nothing crazy there. Do you think any other kind of crazy events will happen in that episode? Obviously, besides the meeting the parents and then of course, him picking.
I think there's one thing that's on lock. Golden Bachelorettes coming in, and they'll be there, and they'll give them advice, or they'll give them advice or something. I guarantee it. It's coming. They're going to be there.
Think that it's going to be like the kind of some eye poisoning advice, if one could say. And what I mean by that is, remember last time, the lady who talked to Daisy was like, you got this, don't worry about the other girl, yeah. And then, Kelsey got advice like, remember, there's other people there, be aware, and it got in her head. Do you think that, what do you think the advice is going to be? Or do you think it's going to be pretty generic?
It's probably more of the same. But
But do you think it'll be swapped though? Like, whoever talks to Kelsey A now will be like, yeah, you got this, like talking her up.
I don't I think the people will be the same because they kind of got that connection, and I can't remember her name, the woman that was talking to Kelsey, because like they obviously had some like similarities with their life experiences. So the people would be same, but maybe they would switch or something like that. The real question is, are they talking to Joey or are they talking to them?
Ooh, do you think they bring Gary on to talk to Joey?
That's what they're doing. That's actually what it is. They're bringing on Gary, guaranteed, lockdown.
Is his wife going to be there? He's married now, I think, right?
Well, it's probably just like a homie to homie conversation.
Okay.
And Gary's just like, well, I like back in the day, this is what we did or whatever. So,
and which one makes you feel like this?
Gary's going to be there. I guarantee it.
Okay. He's flying to Mexico.
And good for him. I hope he has a good time. Because he probably gets there's hey, come here. You're going to put in 20 minutes of effort or however long it is, and then you can just screw around.
And then you get a free vacation. He was like, all right, sweet. I'm down for that.
Yeah, it sounds sick to me. So and I'm sure that's what happened with the other ladies. They're just like, hey, fly down to Mexico, do this one thing, and then just do whatever you want. And they're like, all right. I mean, why not?
Hell yeah.
Sounds like fun to me. So, yeah, it's going to be Gary. Do you think you're totally right? That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. And what you think he's just going to give advice like, hey, follow your heart, whatever.
Yeah, I just made this decision on the Golden Bachelor. And
for those of you that forgot about it.
Yeah, and it was a really tough decision, but I'm so thrilled with I don't know who he picked. Oops. But I'm so thrilled with her, and maybe she'll come on, maybe she won't, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to be the other big thing.
Okay. The other thing that we talked about a lot while watching the episode is, do we think that Joey is still with the person that he chose if he chose someone? And this is just from his vibes with Rachel, his vibes with the Women Tell All, what vibes were we getting from that?
Well, first of all, there's Joey's backstage and he's playing ping pong, not wearing a shirt.
Right. What?
And obviously this is a fan service, but at the same time, I'm like, bro, what are you doing? But whatever. They probably put $100 in his back pocket and it's like, just take your shirt off. And he's like, okay, whatever. Why not? I didn't want to wear it anyway.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fan service. But also apparently they have a ping pong table back there. But
true.
Okay, him talking with Rachel, I didn't feel like there was really any connection there at all anymore. It just, she was still upset about it, but I didn't really feel that much. And, looking at him, because most of the time when the guys seem really sad, they show up and they've got, a significantly larger beard than they did before. But he looked about the same. He didn't look that upset, and he seemed pretty calm. So that's why I feel like he's still with, whoever.
Okay. So you think he did end up with somebody?
Do you think that? What do you think?
I agree with the beard statement. Right. And he was looking pretty clean shaven. He was looking happy. But I mean, it's interesting because in other Women Tell All, they say, I feel like they mention like, oh, you look really happy. Like, what's going on? Like they try to get a reaction out of them, you know? And, you know, usually they're kind of like pretty poker face. But this time Jesse didn't like poke the bear, you know?
Well, maybe Joey can't keep a lid on it.
Yeah.
He's like Tom Holland. You ask him anything and they'll tell you the entire plot or whatever. So
they're like, don't ask him any questions. Like it's going to give it away.
I mean, they didn't really like dig into almost anything with him. He was like kind of like, I don't even know why he was there.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that, could you see Rachel on Bachelor in Paradise?
Yeah, I think she could be on there. I don't see why not. I mean,
I could totally see her on there. That being said, from how emotional she got about the hate comments, I don't know if she would want to go on to Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah, and I
don't know if
that.
she'd want to expose herself again, unless this was just very fresh. But she was obviously really emotional about it, and I'm sure there was a ton of things to be emotional about. I mean, she just rewatched her breakup. She was seeing Joey for the first time. I mean, it was a live audience. I mean, that's a very like intense environment to be in. Yeah. So I wonder if even given the opportunity, if she would accept it.
Maybe not like this upcoming season, maybe the next one. But I don't see why she wouldn't be. I feel like once you're in this group, you don't leave the group.
True.
Unless you were some night one or something. Mm-hmm. But I mean, she's number 3. She's not no one. She's a big deal.
Yeah. So, oh, absolutely. I'm sure people would love to see her, but
yeah, she seems cool to me.
Yeah, I can imagine, you know, her wanting to take a little bit of a break. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't blame her at all. I mean, I could see a lot of those ladies going on Bachelor in Paradise, but I guess we'll find out. I don't even know when that's happening or what's next. I think we were talking about this the other day, and I just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, like the order of what, now that they have the Golden Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise, like, yeah, which one's next and how long the break is. Yeah. Yeah,
but I mean, do you have any final thoughts going into the last episode? You think it will be at 7 p.m. this time?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I hope it's at 7 p.m. That would be fantastic. You know, as crazy as this is, I do really want Daisy to be the Bachelorette. However, I am kind of maybe thinking that Daisy, I don't know. What if Daisy wins and it's like Maria's the Bachelorette? Like, I feel like now my mind is just totally caught off guard. And for some reason, my gut is thinking that it's maybe going to be Daisy, and I'm confused about why I think that.
About winning or being the Bachelorette?
What about winning?
Daisy Days. I mean,
Daisy Days.
I mean, I would pick her.
I mean, 1,000%. Like, I love her, but I want to see a whole season of her, which is why I want her to lose. Right?
Yeah, I'll take that. I just lose.
Right.
I don't know. I just like it's really hard to say who's going to be the winner here. Because I'm going to stick to my guns. I think it's Kelsey. I just get the feeling that he really likes her. So
okay.
Because it's in previous seasons, like you can always tell there's somebody that, at least I feel like a lot of times it's just like, yeah, they seem to like this person a lot more.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting those vibes with her and him. So I think that's who's going to get it. But whether it works out that way, I guess we'll see.
Okay, I could regret this, but I'm glad we're opposite on this.
Yeah.
It makes the tea a little hotter.
Yeah, apparently, maybe the tea will be hot because they didn't really cover anything new over the Women Tell All. Yeah, what's your final rating on this Women Tell All?
I would say, honestly, like 6 out of 10.
Wow.
So it's pretty high. And like I said, it's because they kept it to an hour. I appreciate that. They got to the point. They interviewed people they needed to interview. They moved on. They showed some of the episode. They interviewed Rachel. I felt like it was structured. You know, there were points of chaos, but I feel like there's been way more points of chaos in previous Women Tell Alls compared to this one, which I really appreciate. And I like that we got to see some of the episode. I mean, and I like that we aren't hearing about plugs. I don't want to hear about plugs, you know?
Unless it's the Golden Bachelorette, then we got to make sure that's happening. I think I've looked at the camera every single time for that. But Yeah, and I mean, I already told you my scathing review. I said a 3.5 out of 10.
I know. Wow.
I'm comparing it to the whole season. I don't think I just do not like that episode. I don't think it's that interesting. Compared to Other Women Tell All, it's probably up there with one of the best ones.
Okay. I was comparing it more to the Other Women Tell All than the other episodes.
Oh,
Other episodes, I mean, not even comparable. I mean,
Yeah.
we wanted to skip it, but we did it for you guys. So
Yeah,
I hope you appreciate that.
The thing is, like, the more they show of like what's actually going on, I'm like, wow, they actually like are real people, and like they do normal things, and they have normal conversations, and like they're interacting with each other in like a normal way.
Yeah, and it is fun to see them make up, and it is fun to see like, oh, let's remind ourselves of who these people are and kind of be thinking about Paradise. So it's like good to kind of revisit characters.
Yeah, I just appreciate when they do the bloopers and stuff. Not even because it's funny, or I mean, it is kind of funny, but just that it feels like, oh, they're like actually real, and they have like a personality that happens and whatnot. And that was like a big problem I had with Matt's season is they showed the bloopers. I'm like, why didn't you show any of this? Like these people actually showed they have a personality and like have thoughts and stuff. And like, I don't know, sometimes they just edit and you never see any of that.
Yeah. You know what I wish? I wish they brought some KFC back for the Women Tell All or for some bloopers. They should have some. There was definitely some KFC bloopers in there. I wish they would have just thrown those in.
Well, the KFC probably didn't pay to sponsor 2 episodes.
Oh, it'd be too much.
Yeah, that'd be too much. Or there wasn't any because all the girls were just like, nah. I was just pretending because KFC paid me a few bucks to say something. KFC. Maybe they should have had the Golden Bachelorettes eating the KFC.
Hey, in the audience. Heck yeah, that'd be awesome.
Actually, that'd be pretty sick, honestly. If
that would be
sitting
great.
In the audience and they just handed out some KFC. Like, I would go for it.
Heck yeah, that would be great to see.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to close this episode out. And would you do the honors today?
Okay, absolutely. Well, we hope that you accept this rose and soon to be the final rose.